All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Radio, very excited to be chatting with an individual who competes at BKFC 57, and that all goes down on February the 2nd. We have Alberto Blas knuckling up and towing the line against Daniel Alvarez, and great having Daniel on Bare Knuckle Radio. How's your day going so far there, man?
It's going all right. It's going okay. Obviously just training a lot. The family, holidays just passed, but I've been in the grind for some time now. Definitely looking forward to, Florida. Definitely looking forward to perform like I want to perform. Everything's going pretty good so far.
Yeah, so maybe the holiday indulgences weren't as much of a thing for you. You got to have that linear focus on this fight kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I get it, man, but, just quite the BKFC career you've had even so far, just in terms of the guys you've fought, like J.R. Ridge, who fought in that inaugural BKFC flyweight title fight, and then, the whole thing with Reggie Barnett Jr., who was the bantamweight champion at the time. I guess just overall, how would you characterize your run, at least so far, in BKFC? Because it seems like you've chosen to dive into the deep end of the pool a couple times already, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like I'm one of the only bantamweights who have done that. If we want to talk statistically, paper-wise, either I've done the same thing. I was supposed to fight Jared Grant. I have either fought number one contenders, or I have fought world champs, or willing to step up to fight former world champs. So, obviously, I've never ducked an opponent. I'm actually very looking forward to this one. My strategy is different, of course, this one. Obviously, there's no last-minute cut like there has been all my fights, There's obviously a lot. Obviously, getting back into the winning column. After this, I plan to, I want to jump into the title shot immediately. I know that California's coming to obviously Bare Knuckle. I heard a couple venues already disclosed. I can tell you right now, man, they do of course, in California, I'll get those seats packed. I have a lot of support out here. But, yeah, like you're saying, I knew that getting into Bare Knuckle, I was going to have to do something a little bit out of, motion, like unorthodox. And what I mean by that is I wanted to jump in already with some really good guys. I wanted my name to go out there immediately. So, yeah, like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to jumping back in there with another top five, which he is. He's a top five, right? So he's undefeated. So that's just adding just to the resume, That's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, and seems like you are aware of your opponent, at least to a certain degree. I guess I'm kind of curious to touch on this because I know some fighters will indulge in like a certain level of tape study or game planning for their opponent, and then some fighters are kind of like, I'm kind of focusing on my own individual efforts. I don't want to get too into what they're gonna do, because then it kind of detracts from my own game plan or approach. Where are you at in that kind of binary? Are you a mix of both? Or are you yeah?
So I'm half and half on that. What I mean by that is, I look at my opponent's strategies, but I also look at the possibilities of what could it be. Of what else it could be. Obviously he's a very explosive opponent. He hasn't really went far too deep in the waters as far as rounds go. We don't really know how his cardio is. We don't. It could be good. He hasn't fought. Yeah, he did fight Robert Adma, which was good. That's a buddy of mine. Definitely respect to Robert. I think that was, the game plan Robert obviously must have had at the time. Obviously didn't work out for him, but I don't think he was out of the fight at all. But just looking at a couple things, to answer your question, I do think, I do look at his strategies. Will he pursue that against me? If he does, it's obviously going to be, the outcome's going to be a lot different than what he's fought previous opponents, I'm definitely going to be also elusive in there. I'm also going to be very strategic on my shots. I'm gonna wear him down. That's my game plan. I'm gonna outwork you. And that means I'm going to take your technique into consideration, but I'm not going to obsess over it. It's kind of like what you said, but at the same time, too, I'm just going to be aware of how pretty he does give to the game. He does it stuck. And, that's what I'm definitely looking forward to.
Yeah, and you're talking about it in a very methodical, measured sort of way that almost seems like it's focused on the long-term nature of the bout, or at least being open-minded to how it could play out, because I feel like some people may be just looking solely at your guys' resumes on paper. It's like just the rate of first-round finishes in BKFC for you guys. I feel like some people might be looking at that as what could transpire, but interesting that you're, I guess, not looking to bank on that per se, and like maybe overextend, like maybe get the stoppage if it presents itself, but showing that fight IQ over the longer duration of the fight, it sounds like.
Yeah, the thing it comes down to is this as well, is that in bare knuckle, you have to be strategic, your punches have to be very accurate and precise, but not only that, it does come down to grit. It does come down to grit. I have fought guys, and I've showed that they can't knock me out. Obviously anybody can get knocked out at any point, but I think he has the power to do that. No, I do not. I do not think he has fought any opponent like me. I know a lot of fighters say that, but I really think he hasn't. The grit with me is very different, especially in this camp. My mindset is very centered and focused. I feel way better than I did with Reggie. Obviously, Reggie was a horrible cut. Then got called in, and I had to make weight within 6 days after. A lot of the scenario with that is, too, is like a lot of people don't know, even with Reg, is that before Reggie, I had 3 backed out opponents. I fight at flyweight and I fight at bantamweight. I was willing to go up to 155 literally the week before I got called. Go up 3 weight divisions just to have somebody fight me. Then they tell me I have to drop back to 135. Now I have to drop another 20 pounds. So it was just a horrible weight cut, and I still fought like that. I mean, I was so tired. I was tired before the fight even happened. I mean, it was just a very horrible experience. But now the way I'm feeling right now, I feel really good. I feel the outcome's just going to be a whole lot different. I really feel that when he gets in there with me, it's just going to be like, okay, this guy is very different from who I fought before. I'm in definitely for a run.
Yeah, that must be kind of a frustrating situation for you, just like wanting to have the strength of schedule you do. And I've seen different articles where you're looking to, fight like top 5 flyweight contenders, bantamweight contenders, etc. So yeah, it must be kind of frustrating because you do have, like I said before, a prior victory over someone who presently is like a pretty, top ranked contender at, flyweight, like right there around the top and everything like that. So yeah, that is kind of interesting with this one also being another bantamweight fight. Like, do you ultimately, you said you fight in both weight categories, I guess, as like the broader goal, do you ultimately have title aspirations for both flyweight and bantamweight in BKFC?
Yes, absolutely. I would tell you, I have no issues with J.R. Ridge. Guy's a solid guy, but I feel like if I would have went up against John Dodson, it would have been a way more competitive fight. I like J.R. Ridge. He's definitely a cool guy. He's definitely a spectacle in the sport too. But as far as that, yeah, definitely, I would love to fight John Dodson. I would love to fight for the title because when you go through this up and down weight cuts, you go through this up and down. I get a fight offered to me, and then they back out. I'm supposed to fight at flyweight again before I fought Reggie. And then a month out, they tell me we can't get you a fight. So I'm like, okay, well, what do you have? You have a guy at 155. Can you make it? I was like, man, I don't know if I can weigh that much again. Try doing that. I mean, you do go up and down weight. First of all, it's unhealthy. Second of all, you're not going to be able to display the technique and strategies you can because your body's just so worn down. I feel this camp, I'm really going to be able to display some of the strategies I couldn't display with Reggie. And the best part about it is both southpaw. So my opponent, Alberto Blas, is southpaw, Reggie southpaw, and that's what I love about it the most. So now I can really strategize and utilize what I can do. So that's the best part.
Yeah, and I guess just briefly touching on that Reggie fight even, like I'm kind of wondering because like it felt like a lot of the like subsequent articles that came out about the event talked about like the bizarre brawl and takedowns that shouldn't have happened, etc. Like what does it feel like, I guess, heading out of a fight like that? Because I think sometimes like reporters like myself who like if a fighter is say coming off of just like a straight ahead loss, it's like that classic like, oh, is this a redemptive fight for you? But just even that kind of language about like, oh, kind of weird, like the takedowns that shouldn't have happened kind of happen. Like
what happened is Reggie tends to have, he likes to lean over people, and he likes to lean over people, then angle out, and bam, get that counter, get that shot in. Well, now what he did is he leaned over me. So if I've been wrestling and grappling for a very long time, I did MMA before. If I want to take you down, I take you down at any point in time I want. Yeah. So what happened is he leaned over me, and I felt him lean over me. Well, two things can happen. I can either set him down, but with the adrenaline going, and it wasn't even typically a slam. I mean, if you look at the even Instagram comments he made, he said he played it for the crowd. And he leaned over me, and I already had him in the air, so I dumped him, didn't necessarily slam him. He did the same thing, a chop chop. If anything, he hip tossed chop chop, if you look at their fight. And I just dumped him, and then the referee automatically, obviously, because the crowd is obviously for Reggie, even in his home state, of course, it blew up more proportion than what it actually was. But he leaned over me with my explosiveness and with my adrenaline. Obviously, I dumped him, but that wasn't part of the plan, obviously. And, you know, he kind of overacted on it, but it is what it is. But to answer your question, to coming out of the fight like that, I didn't really focus too much on that because I knew it didn't affect Reggie in no scenario. It didn't affect Reggie at all. I broke my finger, and if he wants to say that, I wrecked my fingers since the first round, and I kept fighting. If you see towards the end round of 4, where he pointed out my injury, I was still willing to fight. So, you know, my injury is a lot worse than whatever you want to call that, a slam, dump, whatever you want to call it. And I was still willing to fight. So I don't really go based on that. First of all, that main event happened because of me. 6 days out, I get a call, have to make weight, do all that shit. Then hand jacked up, fingers jacked up. I mean, I went out there. Of course, I would like a different result because at the end of the fourth round, my gas tank was already up again. My adrenaline was up. I literally did not feel anything in my fingers anymore. I know it's great, but, you know, obviously it is what it is. But yeah, I don't let that determine my factor, how well I can portray myself as a fighter. I do believe in rules, but, you know, we could point out a lot of things of that fight, but obviously it comes down to one thing, and it's preparation, and having the right preparation before a fight. And that's exactly what I'm doing for this fight, because obviously it's not last minute, you know, so if that answers your question, preparation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing I was kind of touching on is because, like, sometimes if, like, a more, I don't know, like, normative or definitive result happens, it's, like, that classic question of, like, oh, is this, like, a redemptive fight for you? Or, I mean, just with it kind of being, like, that, like, the language I was talking about, like, oh, a bit of a curious fight, bizarre brawl, different headlines like that. And I mentioned the J.R. Ridge performance, just the emphatic, quick nature of the stoppage. Is there almost, like, an excitement to kind of get back to the narrative, quote unquote, being about that, just like the kind of performances you can get in those like J.R. Ridge? Yeah,
I think we worded it very clear. Yeah, I think exactly. The narrative on it would just be like, okay, well, Daniel's gonna fight how Daniel fights. I really believe I'm gonna top the performance, even the J.R. Ridge fight. Even that fight, I wasn't completely myself. There's some factors. I won't put anybody on blast or anything like that, but there's factors. I really feel this camp is gonna be a lot different. I really feel that I can really strategize. I can really focus on doing what I need to do. Obviously, I'm going to take into consideration what he's going to do, but I really feel like I'm going to be able to fight my fight the way I want to. You know, we're 3.5 weeks out now, 3 weeks out now. I really feel like, yeah, that's going to play a huge factor. I'm really looking forward to this.
And I know certain fighters can go one way or the other with this. Like, some really get heavy into, like, visualizing different outcomes in the fight, and then kind of within that get, like, a predominant visualization for how the fight may end. But kind of like what we were talking about before, like, sometimes people don't want to do that, so they can be more adaptable with how the fight may flow, etc. Like, I guess in saying that, do you have a predominant visualization you have for this fight, like a reoccurring idea of how this fight may end, or more that adaptability, open mind thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. For one, it's not going to go to the judges. That, for certain, it will not go to the judges. How I think the fight will play out, or how I know the fight will play out, I'm going to outwork him. He's going to realize, like, hey, man, this guy, he's not succumbing to my explosiveness. He's not falling short to my explosiveness. I got to use more technique. Well, technique-wise, I'm going to beat you, especially. My experience, too, you've never been out of the first round. I have. And I think that can play a part, too. I really, to answer your question, yes, I do have a feeling. I do see a stoppage. I don't see it going past the third. I just don't. I feel like me being precise and really getting my shots in is really going to take a toll on this body. It's gonna definitely open them up to be like, okay, well, this guy is just not the same as these other guys, despite the fact that I fought champs and number one contenders. But to answer your question.
Yeah, it seems like a great card to be able to do it on, just with this Luis Palomino, Austin Trout main event, and really a deep card overall. So that's probably a cool facet as well, getting to showcase the skills in what seems like what could be your most comprehensive BKFC performance yet, and on a huge stage. So is that something that you get fired up about as well, or kind of inconsequential? Or
I've been wanting. I did want to fight at the Hard Rock last year. Obviously, a backed out opponent again. That was literally a backed out opponent on the Hollywood card. And so, yeah, definitely. I've been wanting to get on a big card again. And the best thing about it, I think it's main card again too. I'm on a main card. I've been the main event. I've been on the main card with JR Ridge, and now another main card. I like that I'm not on the undercard, so I think that's the best part about it. Definitely feel like I'm actually part of the event, And yeah, just best way to showcase the skills. And I'm coming for the victory, of course. I'm coming for the dub. So that's the best part about it. Yeah, it's awesome feeling.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I'm really excited for your Alberto Blas fight here coming up, but in wanting to be mindful of your time and schedule today, man, I'm curious if maybe there's a final parting thought you'd want to add as we're sort of wrapping things up here, Daniel.
Just tune in. Definitely tune into this card. It's going to be I feel it's going to be a lot different than what you guys have seen before. It's like it's same fighter, same grit, just better strategy, better technique. It's definitely going to be a good performance by me, an excellent performance by me. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people for who should get the title contention, next. I really feel that I should be there.
Yeah, for sure, a lot of implications in this fight going forward, no doubt. And yeah, to reiterate, very excited for this Alberto Blas fight, and a great stacked card with BKFC 57 overall. So thanks so much for coming on Bare Knuckle Radio, man. Looking forward to checking out that fight on February the 2nd. But until then, you have a good rest of your day, Daniel. Thank you.
You too. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.